The Washington Post says it was the target of a sting operation meant to discredit its reporting on Alabama Senate candidate Roy Moore. The paper says a woman contacted them with a bogus story about an alleged sexual relationship with Moore when she was only 15. She claimed she became pregnant and had an abortion, but her story just didn't add up. Post reporter Stephanie McCruin, she recorded her final interview with this woman. Take a listen.
But I don't know, why we are going into all this yet. Well, I haven't even agreed to go through with the story yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, well, since you contacted us,
yeah.
You reached out to us. We went ahead and did some background information. Background checking. You know what I mean on some of the things that you had told Beth about your story. And so this came up, and so I just want to understand what that's about and why you would want to work for the Daily Caller. And I'm also, frankly, want to know if you're who you might be working for now.
I still do mortgage work.
Well, it's a little bit of an issue there, and I just want to ask you to explain it, because when we called the company that you said that you worked for, they said they didn't have, that you didn't work there.
Did you talk to the corporate office?
Beth made the phone call, and I know that she said that they didn't have an employee by your name there.
Yeah.
Jamie.
I'm not sure which office she called, because there's a whole bunch all over the country.
Uh-huh.
So.
Okay. So, again, I want you to know that this is being recorded and video recorded. So if there's anything you want to say about why you're here and how you came to be sitting here, I really would like to know that story as well.
I mean,
we're planning to write a story about this, so this would probably be a good opportunity if you want to explain a little bit more and about all this.
I really don't. I told you already that I wasn't even sure that I wanted to go through with the story at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think I probably just want to cancel and not go through with it at this point.
Now, it turns out this woman may have worked for a company called Veritas. Earlier today, I talked with Washington Post media columnist Margaret Sullivan about how the situation unraveled and what this sting attempt means for working journalists out. Margaret, how did all this start, and when did the Washington Post reporters realize that somebody was trying to dupe them?
Well, as you know, we've been down in Alabama reporting on allegations against Roy Moore for some time, and a few days, perhaps a week or so ago, a woman approached one of the reporters who had been doing this kind of work and said she wanted to have a confidential conversation about her own experience, and it developed from there. Once the Post reporters learned something about this woman, they began to do some background checking, and the background checking fairly quickly sent up some red flags.
But this woman had claimed that she had juicy information, the kind of information that any reporter would take the time and all the time in the world to listen to. What was the woman claiming? What was that information she claimed to have?
So the information was that she had, as a teenager, 15-year-old, she had had an affair with Roy Moore, the candidate for Senate in Alabama, and many years ago, and that relationship had resulted in her becoming pregnant and having an abortion. So clearly that was put out there as thought to be a piece of red meat for the Washington Post to simply take and run with, but the Washington Post reporters, as you know, good reporters don't simply take a story and run with it. They began to check out this source, and fairly quickly all kinds of warning signs went up that she might well be an employee of someone trying to do the Post harm. And so, after that, a Post reporter sat down with this woman and began to question her. At that point, the Post reporter really knew what was up, and I think fairly quickly the would-be source realized that the Post reporter knew what was up. So it was a very strange sort of high-wire act of reporting, all of which was recorded on video. And the Post reporter was very clear that this was being recorded and it was being videotaped. So there was no subterfuge about it.
Right. So the Post reporter and team determined fairly quickly that this woman was lying, you know, that she didn't have this affair and that she wasn't made pregnant by Roy Moore. But what was behind this woman? Who was behind this woman? Why would she do this?
Well, we have every reason to think that an organization that calls itself Project Veritas, an ironic name because Veritas means truth, was behind this, and that she was in some sense their employee. And Project Veritas is famous for going behind the scenes in media and politics and different organizations and doing what they consider to be their mission, which is pulling back the curtain on how things really work. Which can be a good idea in some cases and has resulted in some interesting kinds of things, but in this case was really a black-hearted and I think diabolical effort to discredit honest reporting, and also in so doing to disparage and discredit the women who rather bravely have come forward to talk about their real experiences of sexual misconduct and even assault when they were girls at the hands of Moore. And
if the Washington Post had fallen for this, and thank God they didn't, it would have also lent some credibility to those who harp on this fake news thing. Are
Absolutely.
we at war at this point? And if so, which, I know which side we're on, but who's on the other side in this war with the media?
You know, my boss, Marty Barron, the executive editor of the Washington Post, has an expression that I think is great, which is, we're not at war, we're at work. And that's the Post's mentality about all of this, is that we're doing our work and we're doing it as rigorously and accurately as we can. We don't consider ourselves to be at war with the Trump administration or with Roy Moore or anyone else. We're trying to do and have been doing very good journalism and very, I would call it, so far at least, bulletproof journalism. There have been a number of organizations that have tried to tear it down, and the Post has managed to survive all of that and looked very good doing it.
Margaret Sullivan of the Washington Post, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
I like that. We're not at war, we're at work. Tweet me using the hashtag OffScript09. Tell me what you think about what we're talking about tonight and what we should be talking about. We'll try to get your tweet on television.